we continue with documentation and profiling and recommended reference profiles, etc. I have no present. I've prepared no presentation, and that has a good reason, because I want to show how you operate the tooling that we have available and how you work with the DATEX II. And you've seen the models, the UML data models, with all uh, the publications and a lot of details in the publications, where we have, if we look at the elaborated data publication, for example, that has been shown by Ian, we have all this quality attributes for data, for basic data, and a lot of details are different types of travel times, and it's very well possible that you are not going to provide all these different types of travel times. And so it doesn't make sense to implement XML schemas or JSON schemas that are covering all these data categories that are available in DATEX II. So you create a selection, but how do you do that? Well, first you start just with the UML model, which you can find on the website. And where do you find that? Well, if you go to the DATEX II website, and then I go to the other one, we have here a support section in the top of the menu of the datex2.eu website, which is the start of everything if you don't know where to go directly. And there is a download section. And in this download section, you find the versions of the model that you can work with. And the good news is that if you want to use the model for creating your profile, you can do it here just for information purposes, because in the tool, in the DATEX II web tool, the model is already imported. And what do I mean with imported? Well, as explained, the model is a UML model, and if you don't change anything to it, if you have no extensions and how you create extensions, that's something for a next session, session 3, which will be on the 10th of March. But if you keep it as it is and you just use this but if you create an extension, you have to import it in the tool. And how do you do that? Well, that's rather straightforward. You manage that you are on DATEX II payload, and then you say, I want to publish this package, and you say, I export it for the current package, which is the entire DATEX II payload. If you unfold it, you see that everything is covered there. And after you do that, there is you can import it in the web tool. The web tool, how do you get to the web tool? Well, also there, you start at the DATEX II EU, and you go to tooling. And here you go to an intermediate page, because there's also a tool for the previous version of DATEX II, but that's not used, and that's not an online tool, I must warn you. Then you go to the DATEX II version 3 web tool. And then you arrive here. And if you have created something yourself, you go to the model configuration and you start importing it here. From there on, I see a hand raised. I get a warning.
But we are seeing the enterprise architect, not the
not the browser.
Yeah.
Hey, that's remarkable because I share my screen. Another attempt.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Okay, one step back. If you've exported your XMI of the model that you've created yourself, you can upload it here. You go to your own model configuration file and you upload it here. For convenience, we have already imported the models from the standardized parts in the tool, so you don't have to do that yourself anymore. And once you get here, you can you select one of the predefined packages, and if you don't know what to do exactly anymore, you go to the help section, which is in the lower end of the page, every page. And the processing or the workflow of creating your profile is in several steps, but you start with the model itself. You go to a profile, and if you have no profile yet, you skip this step. And we don't have a profile yet, so we continue. These are the recommended reference profiles. We will address them later on. And an important step and a very relevant step in your entire approach of providing DATEX II encoded information is the location referencing system you use. And we have several, AlertC, OpenLR, TPAC, also point by coordinates and point along linear elements, which are standardized location referencing methods, not standardized by DATEX II, but in other contexts, the only thing is that we import their models and support their models in our messages. Well, for this example, we only use point by coordinates, and we use the OpenLR linear for the linear information. Then we go to the selection, and now it's loading and it's doing some checks and validates modifications you might have made. We didn't. And now you see a fully unselected tree, and you recognize the the publication types that are in the XMI as we had it before, in Enterprise Architect. And when we go to the measured data or the elaborated data, and we go to the physical quantity that we want to provide, we say, okay, we will have a single physical quantity, and it's a basic data, and it is we are going to do travel time, and for the travel time we provide you the travel time duration. So this is where we are to this is the information element that we want to provide. And now you see that the tool selects all the relevant and mandatory information elements, which is the header information and the publication, and it ticks also some boxes about timing and the creator. But within these information elements, they also can have additional attributes, and this was what Ian has shown. For example, the quality markers, the data error, reasons for data error, and if you want to use them, you have to tick them as well. And if you say, well, I'm not going to provide any standard deviation or only data error, and probably you want to provide something about, you want to say something about the computational method. Well, that's then saved, and now you have a travel time duration available that also has the attributes to that you ticked here to provide the quality information that you want to use. Like I said, the location is key. Now we did use elaborated data, but location referencing and is used in the pertinent location, but we haven't selected the pertinent location yet because we're gonna say we will take a network location. We said it's gonna be a linear location, and then you see that the selection we made in the previous step is already filled in here, and now you have a fully defined profile. If you make an error, you can restart or you go back to the previous step. But we are ready now, and we feel confident. And now you can do a couple of things. You can create your XML schema or your JSON schema. You can generate the schema with the definitions. So if we stick to the XML schema, the definitions that are in the UML model for every class and attribute and has a definition by definition, and they can be included in the schema, which could be useful for the implementer. You also can save the selection, and I would recommend that if you do an own selection that deviates from predefined selections, because then you can use this selection file in step 3 for the profile selection. And on top of that, you can export a data dictionary containing all the elements that you have selected, including their package and their classes and enumeration values, etc. So we've ticked these ones. We don't do a schema with definitions, but now we say, okay, XML selection file, and we say next. And now the package is created. The DATEX II version 3 profile package is created, and I'm going to save this one. And now it is here. And now you see here when we've created the profile, you see here the schema files for the XML implementation of this one, and you see the CSV files that contain the enumerations and the data dictionary that is supported, the data dictionary that contains the information elements that you use. And these are the enumerations that you use that we've selected. There's one in location referencing, or a few in location referencing. And if we go to the enumeration literals, then you see here that it is coming from the namespace of location referencing. You have the enumeration type and the enumeration literal, the designation, how it is used, the literal name, and its definition. So by this, by operating this tool this way, you create your own profile that is containing only those information elements that you are actually really going to use. And which is important because the model is far too wide and it will be far too expensive to implement extend the full model for every implementation you have. It doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time and money. The only thing that you have to ensure is that you use the same model on both the client and the data provider side. Whereas the data client could have a wider profile, implement a wider profile if he is connected to multiple sources of data. And it wouldn't make sense if everyone creates his own schemas for specific types. And we have the delegated regulations giving data categories, and we have created something that's called recommended reference profiles, which are going to be presented to you by Jonas.
Yes, thank you, Bard. So first, a little bit recap about recommended reference profile and recommended service profiles. The recommended reference profiles are those that are based or linked, you could say, to the delegated regulations. And the recommended service profiles is created from the EU EIP reference handbook for ITS service deployments. There is a feature that the RSP can be based on RRP. There is a link there that some of those can use. For all these profiles, you always have to decide or choose your location referencing system. And for that, we have created, as Bart showed you, the location profiles can be used to help you do this selection in an easy way. So I will do a little demonstration of this in the web tool. I will start with the version 3.1 model. And in selection, I will choose nothing. So I go to step 3, where we have the recommended reference profiles. And here we have the recommended service profiles. This is structured according to the delegated regulations. So action B, C, and E. And currently we have only data for B and C. And these are structured according to the publication that they are based on. So this is a situation publication, and here we have profiles for that, and here we have for traffic data, for example. And you can select more than one, so you can create your own profile that is based on more than one, and often you have, I think. If you switch to RSP, you will get a warning that's saying that you will lose this selection, so you can't combine those two. You either build it on RRP or RSP. On RSP, they are structured according to different areas, I think you can say. And under that, it's also which kind of publication they are delivered. So you have different kind of service profiles. I would switch back here and take 2 like that. And then I click next. And here I can choose location profiles. And for this example, I would choose for point locations. I will take alert C point. Doesn't matter which method. And point by coordinates. And then I would take alert C linear and the GML line string. Then I will click next to the selection. And here all choices we've made from step 1, 2, 3, and 4 are merged into a view of my choices I made. And here you see then now, because we have chosen a reference profile, or actually two, we have blue nodes. And blue nodes means that they are protected or governed, you can say, by a reference profile. So this means that the selection I made in step 3 advised me to use publication time, for example. Now publication time is required, but if we go down, yes, situation publication is not required. And I can, if I deselect this, I will get a warning. And it will tell me that this is protected or governed by these two reference profiles. I will click no now, and then no, nothing has been changed. If we go down into this tree, we have location reference. And here you can see that location reference itself is blue and location is blue. But underneath here, we don't have anything blue on point and linear. Supplementary position is from the reference profiles, and this is from my choices in the location profile. So this location profile, it will not protect me from unselecting Gmail line string. The location profile, you can say, it will mean the same in step 4 as selecting here. It's just a simpler way to, at a higher level, make it easy for you to select the location referencing system. But you can do exactly the same here. If here we can see the operator action that we chose. And if I remove this one and say yes, since there are a lot of childs of this, so there will be a lot of other things removed, I will also get a list telling me which other stuff has been removed by your selection. So, and I can, of course, just click this again, but then I will follow the old rules. That will be that everything beneath this is selected. So if I would like to return to the previous, I have to go back and then go forward again to get the selection based on the profiles from step 3. So I think that's it. Later, if you choose next, step 6 and 7 is the same. So I will hand over to you again, Bard.
Yeah, thank you. It seems that some of the attendants had a few issues seeing what was happening on screen. Well, that's always the tricky part with these online sessions, that not all, we are not guaranteed that it is functioning properly everywhere every time. But again, all the presentations are recorded and will become online. And especially this one is so interactive that we cannot do it in a different way, because we want to demonstrate how you do the things that are required. So I hope the alternative of looking back the video will help you. As mentioned, there's one more part, and that's the documentation. We've created a lot of documentation with regard to profiling, and this documentation is available, and I want to show you that. And am I already? Yeah, you are already seeing my screen, I think. No, not yet. If you go to the DATEX II website again, you will see that in support you have apologies. You have the Academy, and the Academy is our documentation portal, and will and already does contain all the documentation that we create. And with regard to the profiles, we have the recommended reference profiles and how they are created and what they address. And for each and every profile, there is a documentation available with what classes are involved, what attributes are there, and how the location is related to the information that is provided. The same is for the recommended service profiles. That's a bit a wider scope. Take your time to read exactly what's the scope of the recommended reference profiles and the recommended service profiles. But this is the documentation very nearly related to what we've demonstrated to you in the tool.